For the last decade or so, it's all been about strapping our health to our wrists. We've got our fitness trackers, our smartwatches. But what if I told you the next huge leap in health tech is going to be completely invisible? It's tech that's hiding in plain sight, turning the very rooms we live in into, well, these silent guardians of our health. So let's get into how we're moving from gadgets we have to wear to care that's just there. I want you to just imagine this for a second. You go to bed, you fall asleep, and there's nothing attached to you. No watch, no sticky chest strap, no clip on your finger. And yet, the bed itself becomes this incredibly sophisticated medical device tracking your vital signs all night long. This isn't some far-off sci-fi idea. This is the promise of where technology is headed right now. So you might be asking, why are we even moving in this direction? Well, let's be honest, wearables can be a hassle. You gotta remember to charge them, you have to put them on, and they can be pretty uncomfortable, especially when you're trying to sleep. This new non-wearable tech, it solves all of that. It's totally seamless, it's automatic, it's comfortable because you don't even know it's there, and because it's built right into your environment, it's always on, always paying attention. And this all falls under a bigger idea called contactless monitoring. It's exactly what it sounds like, technology that can gather super important health data without ever having to touch us, and without us ever having to think about it. So how in the world does this even work? Well, it really boils down to two key technologies. The first one is medical-grade radar. And let's be really clear here, this isn't like the motion detector in a garage. We are talking about a small, super sophisticated device, maybe the size of a portable charger, that just sits near your bed. And the sensitivity of this thing is, well, it's just mind-blowing. This radar can detect the microscopic movements of your chest as you breathe, right through your pajamas and your blankets. I mean, get this, it's so precise it can be placed under a baby's crib and get a perfect reading. Or, and this is wild, you can even aim it at a wooden wall and it can pick up the breathing of a person in the room next door. That is the level of sensitivity we're dealing with. Okay, so that's the radar. The second key technology is honestly just as impressive: optical fiber sensors. So instead of sending radar waves through the air, this method uses light that's moving through these incredibly thin fibers. So how does that work? Well, imagine these hair-thin optical fibers woven right into a mattress pad. When you lie down, the pressure from your body, even the tiny pulse of your heartbeat or the gentle rise and fall of your chest, it causes microscopic bends in that fiber. The system then measures how the light traveling through those fibers gets distorted by the bends, and from that, it can pull out your heart rate, your breathing, and even subtle muscle movements with amazing precision. All right, so we've got this amazing tech, but what's the point? What can we actually do with it? Well, one of the most powerful real-world applications is in decoding our sleep, and specifically in detecting a really common and pretty dangerous condition: sleep apnea. Now, for anyone who's not familiar, sleep apnea is a disorder where a person's breathing literally stops and restarts, sometimes hundreds of times a night. If it goes undiagnosed, it can lead to some really serious health problems down the road. Now, here's where it gets really clever. Instead of trying to measure the absence of breathing, which can actually be pretty tricky, these systems look for something much easier to spot. You see, after a person stops breathing for a moment, their body forces this sudden, gasping recovery breath. That forceful movement creates a huge, unmistakable signal that the radar can pick up instantly. It's a much more reliable way to know an apnea event just happened. And so, how well does this actually work? The results are, frankly, stunning. We are talking about an accuracy rate of 92%. And just to put that 92% number in perspective, that level of accuracy for detecting severe sleep apnea is often better than many of the consumer-grade wearables you can buy. This is a huge deal. It means we're moving from a simple wellness gadget to a truly clinically relevant tool, all without ever touching the patient. But, detecting a condition that's already happening is only half the battle. The next frontier, the really exciting part, is predicting a crisis before it happens. So let's look at how these exact same breathing signals can act as an incredible early warning system for heart failure. To get this, we need to wrap our heads around a term that sounds a little technical: periodic breathing cycle length. It's actually pretty simple. In people whose hearts are getting weaker, their breathing can fall into this weird pattern of breathing too much and then breathing too little. The cycle length is just the time it takes to go through one full cycle of that pattern. And as you can see right here on this chart, that cycle length is a massive signal of heart health. Someone with a healthy heart might have a cycle that lasts around, say, 49 seconds. But for someone with severe heart failure, that same cycle stretches way out to over 80 seconds.
The difference is dramatic, and the sensors in the bed can measure this automatically night after night after night.
And this is the incredible part. Researchers found that by tracking this number every night, they could see it slowly changing in the weeks leading up to a major heart failure event. This basically turns the bed into a predictive engine, giving doctors and patients up to a 30-day warning that their condition is worsening and they need to intervene. That's a game changer. Okay, so now let's pull all these different threads together and look at a bigger vision for the future, specifically for managing chronic diseases at home. Let's take a condition like COPD. That's chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Now, when you think about a lung disease like COPD, you'd naturally assume that the best way to predict how a patient will do long-term is to look at their lungs, right? You'd measure their breathing capacity, their lung function. But a massive study completely turned that assumption on its head. And what they found is, honestly, it's pretty shocking. This study, which followed patients for a combined 140,000 years, found that the single biggest predictor of whether someone would end up in the hospital wasn't a physical measurement at all. It was their mental state, their levels of anxiety and depression. Knowing this completely changes how you can approach at-home care. So picture this new model. First, you have these contactless sensors in a patient's bed or their favorite chair, passively monitoring their sleep, their heart, and even getting clues about their emotional state. Second, an app on their phone uses the camera to guide them through exercises, with an AI making sure they're doing them correctly. Third, all of this super rich data gets sent to a therapist who can see the whole picture remotely. And fourth, that therapist can then tweak and personalize the therapy program in almost real time, without the patient ever having to leave their house.
This is how everyday life just becomes health data. The sensors can see how stressed a person's lungs get just by watching their breathing patterns while they eat. They can measure physical agility by seeing how easily someone stands up from a chair. And they can even get an objective look at someone's emotional state by analyzing how their heart and breathing rhythms are synced up, which is a known indicator of stress or relaxation.
So when you step back and look at all of this, what are we really seeing? We are seeing the beginning of a healthcare system that is proactive, that is predictive, and that is deeply personalized. And it's being woven into the very environment that surrounds us. The core idea here, the really big shift, is this. For years, we've been responsible for our health data. We had to wear the device, we had to open the app, we had to do the work. That whole paradigm is flipping. We are moving towards intelligent environments that take on that job for us, passively looking out for our well-being in the background of our lives. And that leaves us with this one really big question to think about. As our homes get smarter and more aware of us, is it possible that the future of healthcare isn't a place we go to, like a clinic or a hospital, but is instead something we simply live inside of every single day?